Max Verstappen world champion t-shirt, and at the Mercedes garage, they are shell-shocked.
On September 30th, 1997, in Hasselt, Belgium, Maximilian Verstappen, also known as Supermax and the Dutch Messiah, the 2021 Formula One world champion, was born. Interestingly, just 16 days later, on October 16th, 1997, in Monte Carlo, Monaco. This is approximately a 12-hour drive away from Hasselt. Another driver was also born. This individual in question is Charles Marc Leclerc, often referred to as Charlie Boy or Chuckles. Notably, the first 4 races of the 23-race calendar for the previous season have been largely dominated by these two drivers. Despite Max Verstappen experiencing 2 did-not-finish (DNF) incidents due to reliability issues, both drivers have showcased impressive performance in their respective Ferrari and Red Bull cars. With 2 wins each, they appear to be setting the pace for the season. To comprehend how these two young talents evolved from 4-year-olds racing in karts to 24-year-olds with multiple race victories and a shared world championship, it is essential to explore their history, achievements, and any notable incidents or conflicts that have shaped their journey in the world of Formula One. These two young European guys have been making waves in the world of motor racing since their early days. Influenced by their fathers who were involved in racing, Max Verstappen's father, Jos Verstappen, was a Formula One driver for Tyrrell when Max was born. Similarly, Charles Leclerc's dad, Hervé Leclerc, competed in Formula 3 during the 80s and 90s. It's interesting to note that Max's mother, Sophie Kumpen, often overlooked in discussions, was also a skilled racer. She participated in high-level go-kart racing in the 80s and 90s, achieving success such as winning the Andrea Margotti Trophy in 1995 alongside her teammate Jenson Button. Notably, she even competed against Christian Horner back in 1989. It's fascinating to see how the paths of these two drivers were influenced by their racing backgrounds, with family connections and experiences dating back to their early years in karting. Funny how things come full circle in the world of motorsports. Let's begin at the common starting point for 99% of racing car drivers: go-karts. In this aspect, both Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc were no exceptions. They first dipped their toes into the world of karting at the age of 4, although competitive racing typically doesn't commence until around 7 or 8 years old, an age still remarkably young to be maneuvering a go-kart competitively. However, this early initiation seems to be a prerequisite for reaching the pinnacle of the sport. While Max and Charles share certain similarities in their early karting days, their experiences took different trajectories. Max demonstrated remarkable prowess, winning nearly every event he entered. In contrast, Charles faced a more challenging journey where victories did not come as effortlessly. Let's get into the early months of 2009, when both were 11 years old. Charles had participated in 4 championship events, achieving a notable P2 finish in the Champion de France in the Mini category. On the other hand, Max, with a staggering 11 championship events under his belt, emerged victorious in 7 of them, securing a P2 finish as well. This wasn't just a strong start. It was a dominant initiation into their karting careers. One factor influencing this divergence in success and opportunities could be traced back to their family backgrounds. Max's father, Jos Verstappen, had recently concluded his Formula One career in 2003, providing a significant parental influence and opening doors in the racing world. In contrast, Charles, though Monegasque, didn't hail from extreme wealth. While Monaco comes with expectations of privilege, Charles did not benefit from the same level of exuberant wealth as some other drivers. The Leclerc name wasn't as recognized, and this might have played a role in the early stages of their racing journeys. The Verstappen name not only brought financial backing, but also respect and opportunities, making Max's path to becoming an F1 world champion seemingly predestined. The historical records from these early stages of their racing careers are not very clear, especially considering it was the mid-2000s when both Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc started their journeys. Max's inaugural competitive race took place in 2005, coinciding with the founding year of a popular website you might be watching this video on. During that year, Max participated in the Dutch NAB Championship and the Limburg's Kart Championship, both in the Mini Junior class, securing a P16 and a P2 finish, respectively. Unfortunately, detailed information about these events is scarce. Charles entered the competitive scene a year later in 2006, participating in the Douvron Coupe de France. More details are available about this event, where an 8-year-old Charles finished third in his group of 18, qualifying for the pre-final, where he secured an 8th place finish. In the final, he concluded the race in P11. If you're a fan and proficient in French, there's an old article about this event that might interest you, and I'll include the link in the description. Rather than delving into every single event they participated in, which would take quite a while, I'll focus on those where we can draw comparisons, highlighting pivotal moments in their early karting careers. One significant moment to highlight in their early rivalry is what appears to be the first head-to-head competition between Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. To the best of my knowledge, which could be subject to correction, their initial face-off occurred on February 21, 2010, at the Lonato Winter Cup, an Italian karting competition organized by South Garda Karting. This event took place around 12 years ago. Both Max and Charles were competing in the KF3 class, and at that time they were 12 years old. The competition featured a total of 108 drivers, including well-known names like Charles and Max Verstappen, as well as Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon, Alex Albon, Jake Dennis, and the late Antoine Hubert, creating a highly competitive grid. In this stacked lineup, Max impressively secured a P2 finish in the 34-car final, clocking a fastest lap of 45.398. On the other hand, Charles faced a tougher challenge, concluding the race in P21 with a fastest lap of 45.559. Notable performances from other participants included Pierre Gasly finishing P9, Esteban Ocon securing P7, and Alex Albon claiming the third position along with the fastest lap. This Lonato Winter Cup marked the inception of what would become a noteworthy rivalry between Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. Now, let's jump ahead 2 years to a memorable incident that we all fondly recall thanks to the advent of interviews and cameras, which weren't as commonplace around karting races a decade ago. It seems that on the 6th of May 2012, during the second round of the WSK Euro Series at Val d'Argento, both drivers, age 14 at the time, found themselves in a situation that became part of karting folklore. To set the scene, it was a rainy day, and Max Verstappen was leading the race with Charles Leclerc, who claimed to be the quicker driver on that particular day, closing in behind him. As they navigated the track, a minor on-track collision occurred, which extended beyond the checkered flag. It seems both drivers were a bit naughty in their actions. This incident gave us an iconic interview where emotions ran high. Charles expressed his perspective, stating that he was leading, Max wanted to pass, and they engaged in a bit of pushing back and forth. In the end, Charles claimed Max pushed him off the track. Max, on the other hand, downplayed the incident, stating it was just a racing incident. While Charles later provided a more detailed breakdown of the incident to Ziggo, the Dutch broadcaster, it's now seen in good humor. There's no lingering animosity, but on that day, tensions were certainly high. Did this mark the beginning of their rivalry? Probably not, as they likely had battled fiercely and encountered incidents before. However, it was the first time such an incident was vividly captured on camera, and the post-race reactions made it a hilarious and memorable moment in their early careers. Both young talents continued their karting endeavors until the conclusion of 2013, after which they made the transition to cars for the 2014 season. During these 4 years, from 2010 to 2013, often referred to as the Vettel dominance years, they found themselves facing each other in championships on 33 occasions. In 2010, Max dominated with a 7-0 record against Charles in every competition they entered. The following year, in 2011, Max maintained his lead with a 5-1 result. However, in 2012, Charles made a comeback, securing a 5-4 victory against Max. The trend reverted in 2013, with Max finishing 8-3 ahead of Charles. While both drivers displayed exceptional skills during this period, Max's performance was exceptional, putting him on a level above not just Charles, but also other competitors of that time. Now, on to the pivotal step up from karts to open-wheel racing. At the age of 16, Max Verstappen joined Van Amersfoort Racing in the Euro Formula 3 series, while Charles Leclerc entered the Formula Renault Alps 2.0 series with Fortec Motorsport. Both made a remarkable impression. Max secured a P3 finish in his debut championship, potentially challenging for the title if not for several retirements. Charles, on the other hand, joined the lesser-known series. Max's outstanding performances attracted the attention of Red Bull, who intervened with a contract to prevent Mercedes from signing him. Red Bull then provided Max the opportunity to participate in an FP1 session at Suzuka on October 3, 2014, just 4 days after his 17th birthday. This marked a significant achievement in Max's career development, considering he had not raced in cars a year prior and hadn't even completed his final karting championship in 2013. Max continued to impress during 2 more practice runs in 2014, showcasing notable skill, including a remarkable drift at Interlagos. Unsurprisingly, Red Bull confirmed Max's full-time participation with Scuderia Toro Rosso in 2015. It was evident to everyone that Max Verstappen was a special talent, leading Red Bull to secure him for the future. Regarding Charles Leclerc, he secured a commendable second position, P2, in his inaugural season in cars. However, he was a significant distance behind the eventual winner, Nick de Vries. It's worth noting that Nick was 2 years older than Charles. Despite facing retirements in the first 2 races of the season, Charles bounced back to claim 2 first-place finishes and 5 additional podiums in the remaining 12 races of that season. This performance was quite impressive for his debut season in cars, although it wasn't sufficient to secure a spot in Formula One. What it did earn him, though, was a seat at Van Amersfoort Racing in the Euro Formula 3 for the following year, 2015. It's worth pondering whether this move may have affected his confidence a bit, finding himself a year behind Max Verstappen, who had already made the leap to Formula One. Nevertheless, it's essential to acknowledge that Charles wasn't the only one in this situation. Esteban Ocon, for instance, also faced a similar predicament. Despite beating Max in the junior formulas, Max earned the Formula One seat, leaving Esteban stuck in the junior categories. The year 2015 marked a significant divergence in the paths of Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, making direct comparisons challenging. Max, in only his second Formula One race, impressively secured a 7th-place finish. Finishing the season with 49 points, he outperformed teammate Carlos Sainz, who managed 2 4th-place finishes, while Max also achieved 2 fourths along with a higher overall standing. On the team front, Toro Rosso concluded the season in 7th place in the constructors' standings. In contrast, Charles Leclerc was in the thick of the competition in Euro Formula 3, driving Max's former car. Despite finishing 4th overall, he showcased his skills with 4 victories and 4 second-place finishes throughout the 33-race season. Felix Rosenqvist dominated the series, securing the title. Charles also participated in the renowned Monaco Grand Prix in 2015, qualifying in 3rd place and finishing 2nd behind Rosenqvist. The following year, 2016, stood out as one of Max Verstappen's most remarkable seasons to date. After just 4 races with Toro Rosso, where he consistently outperformed Carlos Sainz, he received the call to replace Daniel Kvyat at Red Bull Racing. This move was somewhat controversial, considering Kvyat had outperformed Ricciardo earlier in the season. However, Max demonstrated his potential by winning his debut race for Red Bull at the Spanish Grand Prix in Catalonia, becoming the youngest driver to win a Formula One race. For the remainder of the season, Max held his ground against Daniel Ricciardo. In the 17 races following his Red Bull debut, Max amassed 191 points, trailing Daniel's 220 points by only 29. This achievement is even more impressive considering Max's 2 retirements during that time, while Daniel had none. Max secured 6 podium finishes, showcasing his talent despite a few incidents that started to fuel the crash meme. Nonetheless, for an 18-year-old driver, his performance was undeniably remarkable. While some may forgive an occasional incident, Max Verstappen was consistently outperforming expectations, delivering podiums most weekends, making his achievements even more extraordinary. In 2016, Charles Leclerc made the transition to GP3, the series that would eventually evolve into Formula 3. He kicked off the season with a victory at Catalonia, securing 2 more wins along with a 2nd-place finish and 4 4th-place finishes. This impressive performance led him to claim the championship title, finishing 25 points ahead of the 2nd-placed Alex Albon. It's worth noting that Alex secured more wins than Charles, with 4 victories throughout the season. However, considering Alex's relatively older age compared to Charles, the achievement becomes even more noteworthy. In the same year, Charles also had his first experience with Formula One machinery, serving as a development driver for Haas F1 team. This marked a significant step in his career, providing valuable exposure to the highest level of motorsport. In 2017, the prevalent theme not only for Max Verstappen but also for Daniel Ricciardo was retirements and DNFs. Daniel faced 6 retirements that year, while Max had 7. Despite the challenges, Max secured 2 wins in Mexico and Malaysia. On the other hand, Daniel's podium consistency was slightly superior, accumulating 200 points compared to Max's 168. It was undeniably another robust season for Max, showcasing his talent and speed despite occasional crashes and incidents. The season highlighted that Max possessed the necessary skills, and it's often easier to refine a driver who tends to overdrive than to nurture someone with potential, but lacking the necessary attributes. In the same year, Charles Leclerc had a remarkable run in the Formula 2 series, arguably one of the most dominant seasons in its history. Over 22 rounds, he secured 7 wins, 2 second-place finishes, and a third-place finish, achieving an almost 50% podium rate. Charles finished the season a substantial 72 points ahead of the second-placed Artem Markelov. This back-to-back display of relative dominance signaled that Charles was now ready for a significant opportunity at the top level of motorsport. In 2018, after a prolonged wait since 2013, fans were finally going to witness Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen on the same championship calendar, seemingly fighting head-to-head. However, the reality was a bit nuanced, as Max was driving a Red Bull, a race-winning car, while Charles was in the Sauber Alfa Romeo, which wasn't as competitive. So, were they truly going head-to-head? Not quite. Nevertheless, it was a pivotal year for both drivers. For Max, 2018 marked a turning point, where he outscored Daniel Ricciardo for the first time and saw a shift in team priorities toward him. He accumulated 249 points with 2 wins, 4 second-place finishes, and 5 third-place finishes, showcasing a season that improved as it progressed. On the other hand, Daniel faced a challenging year with 8 retirements, leading him to make a move to Renault. As for Charles Leclerc's 2018, it was nothing short of phenomenal. As a rookie, he immediately outperformed his significantly more experienced teammate, Marcus Ericsson. Charles finished the season with 39 points, compared to Marcus's 9, and secured 3 consecutive 7th-place finishes, consistently being the best of the rest in what was arguably the 8th or 7th quickest car that season. His outstanding performance didn't go unnoticed, and it eventually prompted Ferrari to come calling for his talents. Now we find Charles Leclerc in a Ferrari and Max Verstappen in a Red Bull, finally facing each other head-to-head in equally competitive machinery. Well, kind of. There's still a bit of debate about the competitiveness of the cars. This season allowed us to witness them battle it out, and it concluded with just 14 points separating the two. Max with 278 points and Charles with 264. Max secured 3 wins, while Charles claimed 2. And in the qualifying department, Max grabbed 2 pole positions compared to Charles's 7. One noteworthy moment occurred in round 9 in Austria, where tensions rose as Charles was ahead, and Max attempted a daring move on the inside, sparking debates about whether it crossed the line. Round 10 at Silverstone provided fans with one of the most memorable battles in Formula One history. The clash between Leclerc and Verstappen, both pushing their limits, left even commentator Martin Brundle in sheer excitement. Despite their divergent career trajectories in the early days of their racing careers, this season demonstrated that when brought back together, Charles and Max were operating at an exceptionally high and remarkably similar level. In the 2022 season, both Max and Charles have exhibited exceptional performances, each securing 2 wins in the first 4 races. However, the absence of technical issues for Charles and Max's unfortunate DNS in one race creates a 27-point gap, making it apparent that they could be neck and neck in the standings. The battle seems destined to continue throughout the season. The pivotal factor influencing their title challenges till the end will likely depend on how their cars develop. The analogy compares the evolving cars to newborns growing quickly, changing rapidly, and experiencing various challenges. As long as their performance remains similar, Max and Charles are expected to extract near maximum potential, promising intense battles. While the Ferrari appears slightly more composed as an overall package, instances like Imola show that the Red Bull can outpace on specific tracks. The ongoing development race will significantly impact the championship outcome. Despite the belief in Ferrari's capability to deliver a championship-winning car, only one notable mistake, a significant one by Charles at Imola, has occurred in the first 4 races. As for the performance advantage so far this season, it's inclined slightly towards Max. Although they share the same age and are separated by only 16 days, Max's double F1 experience, in his 8th year, plays a role. Charles' 5th season, while not technically double, implies Max has had more time in the F1 arena. The question of who is currently on top, Max or Charles, remains subjective and invites opinions in the comments.